Three, two, one. Going live. Yes, on all platforms. Here we are. Hi, everyone. Finally, I'm here all alone without another guest. As you all know, over the past couple of weeks, I've been doing podcasts. I've been doing these live recording for the Braving Innovation podcast, and we just released our 10th episode. And if you haven't checked that out, please do check it out on Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. And if there's another platform that you prefer for listening to podcasts, do let me know and I'll put it on there just for you. So I'm here going live on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, any other platform you would like me to go live on, let me know and I'll do that too. I'm just so excited to be here with you today. I see people joining on Instagram and looking forward to people joining on other platforms. Do say hi. Let me know that you're there, especially on YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. If you say, I can't see you if you're joining in, but if you say hi, I will know that you are there. So I'll know that there are people listening in these other platforms too. And today I just wanted to come on here and just be me. I feel like I have been a little bit kind of formal lately because I've been doing these interviews, being a moderator and being a host. And today I felt like I just coming in and like stretching and letting loose and like kind of, come as who I am. So that's what I'm doing. And when I scheduled this live, it was like, okay, heart to heart, guys, heart to heart. How is it going? I quit my job in the last year, and January 1st, 2022, I started my journey as an entrepreneur. Hi, Christopher. Good to see you here on LinkedIn. So I started my journey, and a lot of people have been sending me messages and kind of wondering like how I'm doing, because I used to do a lot more lives before, but recently I've been like doing these interviews on the Braving Innovation podcast. So today was going to be raw, guys. It's going to be raw. It's going to be authentic. I'm going to answer any questions that you might have. How am I doing? Someone's asking me here on Instagram. I am doing fabulous. I am enjoying the freedom, really, of being an entrepreneur. And I'm realizing freedom is just such a big value of mine. And this is something that I've strived for, if that's the right English tense for that. I've like been striving for more freedom since I was a kid, right? Since being a young girl growing up in Pakistan, feeling like there were limits to what I could do as a woman in a society where there were just a lot of rules set for what women can do and cannot do. And so after a while, I felt being in corporate was also boxing me up. And I think more than anything, it was also about stretching myself and really stepping up to the next level and seeing like, okay, I can do corporate, like if I really want to. I can climb the ladder here. But what if you were to think bigger? If you really want to take that quantum leap, if you want to 10x your impact, is this where you're going to make impact? Sorry about the background noise. I live in the city, and I live close to the hospital and the fire station, so you'll hear some sirens going by the way. You can hear them now. So I wanted to talk about. I wrote down a few pointers, sort of my big aha moments over the past couple of months, and I thought it would be useful to share those with you. And please, as you're listening, please add in your reflections. And I just wanted to also give a shout out. Like I wrote down my notes on this Remarkable, and this week, the company Remarkable, it's a Norwegian company, and they have this tablet that is really one of the best tablets you'll find in the market. That's as close to kind of actual note taking. So they have this really impressive technology, and they announced that they have raised, their valuation is now $1 billion US. So that's makes them equal to being the 7th unicorn in Norway. So in like 7 years, we have 7 unicorns. That's a pretty good rate, I would say, for a small country like Norway. So just a shout out to my Remarkable friends. And for those of you who don't use Remarkable, like definitely do check it out. I love it for note taking. And this episode is not sponsored by them, but maybe it should have been. And maybe I should send them a note next time. Yeah. So has it been easy? Has it been easy? Stepping into the unknown. When I did this, a lot of people came up to me and said, that's a big risk you're taking. Not sort of the risk of not having that monthly paycheck, guaranteed monthly paycheck coming in. And I was like, really, is it that much of a risk? I mean, I live in a country where my healthcare is taken care of, where my kids will still be able to afford going to daycare, or I would be able to afford sending them to daycare. So luckily, if you're living in one of those countries where you have some of these safety nets, you can take that risk. And so why not take that risk? Actually, Norway is a really good country to take these kind of risks. And so that's what I did. And I really wanted it to be easy. Like, I do not want I did not want to go in it with this hustle mentality. I did get a lot of advice from people that, you're going to have to hustle, that, it's now that you have your own business, it's no longer a 9-to-5 job. You'll be working around the clock to actually make it work. You'll be working weekends. There's no such thing as a vacation when you own your own business. And to some extent, yes, that is true, because you're going to really go in there and fight harder and put in more work as you are building your own business. But you make your own rules here, hello, and you get to make it fun and easy, and that's what I wanted. Thank you, Christopher, mentioning here that Remarkable is great. I've got a first gen, which has been a great friend since 2017, which is really good that you've survived it for that long on the Gen 1. So I wanted it to be easy, and I wanted it to be fun. I wanted it to feel energizing every single day. And I am proud and happy to say that, yes, it has been. I have been on a constant high, just really excited about the possibilities of being on this journey, really. I am someone who's a natural optimist, but going on such a journey, which you are taking some bold risks and trying to build your own business, to some extent, you have to take your optimism up a notch, because that's one way of really keeping up your energy and staying open to possibilities, because that's really what it's about for me. I mean, the world is wide open. There are so many things going on in the world, and being open to possibilities and not being afraid, because I can choose in this moment to come from a place of survival, being in this survival mode where I'm just fearing everything. That, oh, if I don't get this client, I'm not going to be able to pay my mortgage. Or if I don't, if this call doesn't go well, I'm going to miss an opportunity to work on a $30,000 project, whatever. Instead, go in with the possibility that if I don't win this project, there are many more projects out there for me, and be more in the creation mode. I mentioned in one of my posts recently, going from being in a survival mode to creation mode. I choose to live in the creation mode where I'm all the time creating and being in that element of, as my coach Rita would say, sort of your zone of genius, being in your zone of genius as much as possible, and creating and staying open to possibilities as long as possible. So Christopher here, do you participate in some kind of solopreneur network and others in similar situations? That's a really good question. I am not part of a network, but I would love to be, actually. So that's definitely something I should explore. But I have been part of like these mastermind groups of either entrepreneurs or corporate leaders who are kind of on the same journey of being ambitious and trying to make an impact in the world and in the places where they're working. And so having these communities of people to talk to and kind of check in with in terms of my goals and what I want to do, and people kind of cheer me on, that's been super, super important. So you could say I'm kind of a part of these networks, which have been super, super important to me. And if I don't find these networks, I often go out and create one. So right now, I'm also on this journey within venture capital so that we could have more women and people of diverse backgrounds and people who haven't invested before to become more active within venture capital. So I formed my own mastermind group around that. A small group of people, we get together, women at the moment, where we get together and really learn from each other, look at deal flows, and cheer each other on, but really be there to support each other because you need that supportive network. Yeah, so a good question there, Christopher. Thank you for asking. And another thing I wanted to talk about, again, looking at my notes about the things that I wanted to mention, was that what triggered me to come on here on my journey was, I'm someone who's always working on improving myself, getting better. I'm super curious. I love to learn. So now, as I'm jumping on from corporate into trying to sort of build these teams and build products, I'm entering this investing world where I'm looking at companies that I want to invest in. How would I potentially set up my own venture fund? What would be my venture thesis? Things like that. It's in somewhat a new space for me, and I'm just kind of diving in there and building my network there. So as I'm learning sort of more on the professional level, as you also kind of let go the chains of corporate and become an entrepreneur, there's a lot of kind of self-work, I feel, that one also needs to do as you become aware of yourself so that you can be more deliberate on being that person and who you are. And then there are parts of us that we want to also let go. So we're not perfect, and I'm not perfect, far from it. And so one of the things that I have been very conscious about working on myself is how to let go of judgment. Like, of course, we're judging every single day, and that's what makes us survive in this world. But really giving people the benefit of doubt and trusting people and giving people that space, because sometimes we say, well, I don't trust that person, but that's really within you. If you open that space and give people more trust, not only they will actually have the opportunity to deliver to you on that trust, but they will begin to trust you too. That's how you form powerful bonds and powerful relationships, especially as an entrepreneur. It's all going to be built on relationships that I build, the partners that I bring along, because I'm here for the long run, for the long haul. And my ambition is not to stay as a solopreneur, but to actually build a business that's working in partnership with other people so that there's actual real scale. And that requires a high level of trust. So that's really kind of, in this past 5 months, my space that I'm really, in terms of personal improvement, an area that I'm really working on is being less judgmental, I guess, in some way. One example that I give is, as I was forming a board at one of the companies that I was working at, and a lot of suggestions that were coming to me from the senior leaders were men. So I was very aware of that, and I wanted to make sure that we have enough women on this board, and I think that was the general intention of most people. They would have liked it, but they didn't know many women, right? A lot of these men did not have women in their networks who they would have considered qualified. But I know plenty of women who could belong on these boards. So I named a handful of women, and I just saw that they were kind of rejected based on some assumption people have made about these people. Oh, there was something in the news about her. There was always some kind of a controversy around these women. And just kind of, being aware that sometimes just because there's a news article on someone, for men we can be often more forgiving, but especially in terms of women, there's a lot more drama because there are not many women. Hard for me to say why, but often there's a lot more controversy around powerful business women, professional women. And at least in this case, I noticed that and I pointed it out. I said, how come like every woman that I recommend, it's very easy for us to kind of dismiss them based on what someone might have said or just some other assumption that we're making. And it made me aware that, even me as I build my audience, my platform, as my experience widens, I work with more people. I know along this journey that I have had people who maybe had some perceptions of me that weren't great, right? And there's some people who have great perceptions of me. But, I'm not defined by that one negative perception because yes, they might have seen that part of me that wasn't appealing to them, but that doesn't define me. And so I want to apply that same thinking to everybody else that I meet. That even if someone comes up to me and says, well, this person has a really bad reputation, well, according to maybe a handful of people, or like, I feel like it doesn't completely define one person, and that there's more to people than what some people might perceive them to be. That our personality is more holistic. I'm not sure if I'm explaining this well, but we have different parts of us, and some parts of us sometimes we might show up in a way that's not in alignment with who we are, but it could be because of myriad of reasons, things that are going on at home, or the pressures that we're having because we didn't eat or we didn't sleep, like even our basic needs weren't met. Maybe because of that we showed up short-tempered, whatever. So it's always giving people the benefit of the doubt. And just because someone had a negative interaction with that person, not completely defining that person because of that negative interaction, because I wouldn't want someone to do that of me. Uh, so that's something that I am really working on, is trusting people, not being judgmental, even based on my own firsthand interaction of them, but being more forgiving towards people, because that's how you build stronger relationships. And understanding, like, part of vulnerability is accepting people also as who they are, and people are not perfect, and sometimes they might show up in a way that's not as their best self. But let's be more forgiving of people. And that was triggered actually by a conversation I had with someone this week, in which they asked me about, like, when I said, if you ask, like, I've had plenty of bosses who loved working with me, but I've definitely had a boss who did not appreciate me for who I was. And if you ask them for reviews on me, they won't give you the best of reviews, right? And he asked me, what do you think he would say about you? And that was such a moment of vulnerability for me, because I was like, do I want to go there? Do I want to actually reveal to this person who's a partner for me and is someone I'm going to really develop a strong relationship with? I could have decided to kind of what's it called, kind of not nudge, but like maneuver away from that situation somehow, and not really respond in the most authentic and honest manner. Or I could choose to be vulnerable and really talk about things that maybe I feel a little bit uneasy about. And that would give us an opportunity to actually build a better relationship, and for this person to know me better. Because one of the things that I've learned from last year is how important it is to set your boundaries, and not like pretend to be someone who you're not, but be upfront about who you are. Because you want to give people that opportunity to accept you for who you are, so that you're not setting kind of these false expectations. And so, yeah, so I was open with them about what would my boss say, and that, but that's just the one perception of that one person, my ex-boss. It doesn't define me. I'm so much more than that. And that maybe this person just had a limiting view. And anyway, either way, all these things are in our head, and it's more of a reflection of what's going on in our head versus even what that our other person would say. So anyway, just wanted to share that. Hi Aiden, good to see you here. um yeah, and another thing I wanted to bring up about was, when you're also creating your own business, as a consultant going out building my innovation firm, where I'm helping startups, advising them, helping corporates with their innovation needs, and also startups with their resource needs, because often they're not able to hire people for the long term. Sometimes they need advisors who are kind of at the same level as the CEO and can help them make decisions, look at their product, help them get more traction or whatever they might be going through, right? And seeing if I can help them for a few weeks as they're scaling rapidly or one of their employees may be down. So, as I'm kind of building this business, I'm also realizing that, as I said before, I'm not building a business as a one-man show. I'm building a business to make as much impact as I can in the world, and create impact solutions that are going to be more in line with the future that I want to see in terms of sustainability, in terms of societal impact, in terms of diversity and inclusion. And so that's the main purpose and goal for me. And that means that I'm bringing in scale in my thinking from the beginning. So how can I, as soon as I start getting in money in projects, outsource a lot of the tasks that I can do? What do I need to do to kind of invest in myself? Because my services is not at the moment a digital product that I would need to hire kind of product developers to build in, but it's me, right? And so a lot of people don't realize that if you're really serious about building your business, you have to make some investments in yourself, because you are the product. I am the product. So I've invested in taking some courses. I've invested in coaching. And I didn't know off the bat what were going to be the right investments. Sometimes I made some bad investments in my business, and they didn't quite pay off as I would have wanted them to pay off. But that's part of doing a business, right? Sometimes you will invest in something thinking that it could be an employee, it could be a person, it could be a product, it could be a supplier, and it doesn't give you the returns you expected. But you're like, I put in at least 30-50% of my revenue into this investment and it didn't pay out. Well, that's part of being in a business, is sometimes things will not pay out. And so I was at this moment 2 months ago where yes, I did put a pretty hefty investment into something, and I was just like, not sure that it's working out. But it also took courage then to say, I don't think I'm going to continue with this anymore, and I'm going to cut my losses, because the opportunity cost sometimes of staying on and kind of regretting staying on is just too large. And yes, I've invested a decent amount of money on this, but let me just take what I have for now, get the best out of it, and move on. And so I really, once I kind of made that decision and cut this contract, in this particular case, it was with a coach. I was kind of feeling a lot of regret, like just kind of like how, beating myself about it, and the voice that I was hearing inside me was around like, how stupid of you to do this. And over time, I've become really aware of this voice, this self-critic inside of me, and really being able to kind of identify it, because it's going to show up, but keep it under check, right? And it so happened, and that's a kind of serendipity, that as I was thinking about these, I was also listening to a podcast by Brene Brown, in which she was interviewing Daniel Pink, who's written a new book about regret. And that kind of changed my whole perception on this, because he said, he did this extensive study like no one has done before about regret. And he found out the thing that most people regret in their lives are the things that they did not do. They regret what they did not do more than what they did. And he said, if you ask kind of people, a lot of people responded in these surveys that he did that I wish I had studied abroad in college. No one said, I regret studying abroad in college. Everyone kind of said, things that they did not do, like on their deathbed. That's what they're talking about, are the things that we did not do. And that kind of helped me reframe this kind of regret that I was feeling around an investment I'd made, that, you know what, actually, if I go back in time and like if I hadn't made that decision of actually going for this investment, it would have probably lingered on with me longer, and I eventually would have signed up with this coach because I really wanted to see what that could offer and do for me. And so I would have regretted more. Definitely, I would have regretted more not signing up, because it seemed like such a fabulous opportunity to really grow my business, expand my brand, and really get to the next level. But I got to test it and see, like, it wasn't quite really what I was looking for, and that investment could have been spent better elsewhere. So I would have regretted more not going for it. And that just made me feel so much better, that, what, sometimes you do things and they don't turn out the way they do, but regret is an okay feeling. Sometimes you will regret things. And it's just kind of part of life, and it's okay to feel regret. But that's also where resilience kicks in, on how quickly can we move from this regret and not let that not pay for our bad decisions any more than we have to. So just picking up a comment here from Christopher. I love the engagement again. Thank you. Have you explored opportunities for productifying your own competence? That's such a good question. And I think that's what I'm kind of trying to figure out. And Christopher, if you have some more insights here, let's have a chat. And I'd love to spar with you on this. Is how do you productify your own competence? And productify, I don't know if that's even a word, but I see it used a lot here in Norway. How do you do it? And that's kind of what I'm working on. And it's a kind of work in progress for me, is my competence. What can I offer, right? How can I put it into these packages that actually become a product that you can then also scale on, so that more people can benefit from it? So that's definitely a work in progress. So good question. So I'm just looking here. What else did I have on here? Yeah, and I was talking in terms of coaching and taking these courses. So I've been like, I subscribed for this Alt MBA program by Seth Godin. Like, absolutely loved it. Built a great network, and just gave me a whole sort of peek into what it's like to have access to really smart individuals and use kind of peer-led learning, like how you learn from each other. It's a fascinating concept, and it's all about, like, you don't need a teacher to teach you. If you're in a group of 5 really smart people who have different skills, especially diverse skills, put them in a room and create a structure and a system where you're continuously challenging each other, learning from one another, and really learning, like, what kind of feedback is valuable. How do I coach how do we coach each other? So I learned immense amount, and built like a fabulous network. And then right now I'm taking this amazing course. Like, that's definitely something I don't regret investing in, is a venture capital and private equity program from Columbia University. Just amazing. Again, amazing cohort of people that I'm meeting. The professors are amazing. The content is really first class, like highly recommended for anybody who's contemplating learning more about venture capital. And like, at some point also, when I decided I was going to stop this coaching, I think it was also that realization that sometimes learning and reading books and like getting all these training and talking to people and mentoring and all these things that you do in an effort to get ready and be prepared is also a form of procrastination. Does that relate to you? Like, sometimes people are just like, oh, I'm going to read one more book on this topic, like, before I actually do something about what I want to do. I'm going to read one more book on like how to create the best product in the world, how to market myself. Like instead of actually getting your hands dirty and just doing something and learning by doing, right? Learning by doing is so much more efficient than reading like 10,000 books and then deciding to do something. So often we look for all these other ways of procrastinating that might seem productive to us because we're learning something new, because we're reading something, but we're not actually doing the work that we need to do to get to where we want to get to. So that's also one of my big takeaways as we're kind of rounding off here is sometimes like keep an eye on like where you're procrastinating, and procrastination can look different in many different ways. So sometimes it's like we have these fears of like, I want to make this phone call to someone that I really want to have this conversation to, but then you have all these assumptions around, would this person want to talk to me? How would this other person that you're working with feel about you talking to them? And like, just sometimes you have to put your analytical brain on pause and just go with your impulsive thought. I think sometimes we kind of undervalue our impulses and overvalue our analytical mind that sometimes is driven by like fear and stops us from actually making action and just making some mistakes, right? And it's completely okay to do that. Learning by doing. Yeah. So another question here from LinkedIn, again, loving these questions. What was one of the most valuable investment courses learnings that paid off for you? And like I said, this course that I'm taking at Columbia, definitely. I think by far one of the best things I've done since I have graduated from my master's degree at Rice University. That was also a great master's program for me, a professional science master's. So I would say since then, this Columbia course that I'm doing is just really, I love it. And the Alt MBA also highly recommended if you're looking for something a little bit different than the traditional MBA and open up your world, especially if you're kind of in a very technical environment and want to get more leadership skills. And I think a great course for someone to take as they're stepping into entrepreneurship, for founders, for someone who's maybe used to using too much of their analytical mind, and then don't take the leap, right? Don't go ahead and just do something. Seth Gordon's really good at pushing people to just be like, just do it. Don't analyze, like make a plan and get better at making decisions. Like that program really taught me a lot about how to make decisions. So yeah, definitely highly recommend that. So anyway, today I just wanted to come on here, be real, talk to you about whatever you had questions about, and you had plenty of questions. I love it. And heart to heart, like just share with you where I am at. I have finally signed on my first customers. Super excited about that, but I'm not there yet. I mean, this is just the beginning. And I'm really still, it's a work in progress on how what I'm going to do is going to become a product. In what way. So Edin Gakik here, hopefully pronouncing your name right, telling a great story that people want and remember is the key for productifying. Yeah, I absolutely agree with that. It's all about the narrative and the stories that you tell. It's how you position your product. I'm still learning about that, on how to do that with myself. I've done that a lot with products that I've created through the work that I've done and through the work that I do in coaching and mentoring startups and advising them. It's a lot easier for me to kind of see that from the outside, but to see me from the outside is a little bit harder. And that's really I am a work in progress at the moment, and really trying to figure out like, how do I position myself? Who do I position myself for? Who will actually get real value from me? Because it's really about value. Thank you for joining, all of you. Thanks for the kind words, Christopher. And I'll see you all next time. And please leave me a message if you like this. So I can do this more often. Okay. Thank you all. And if you're listening to the recording, yes, please do write a comment. I'll definitely respond.